key points, but just know that for a wide-legged forward fold, we are looking for something that's significantly wider than a neutral forward fold, but we're not looking for something that would be so wide as, for example, in a Warrior II, okay? So it's not this wide. It's somewhere between there and neutral. So sort of a midpoint, if you were to think about it that way. The reason that I'm going to go from the side is that very often when we go into any kind of a forward fold, we default to a hinge position like we would if we were carrying a load. So when we hinge as though we're carrying a load, the hips drive behind the heels, right? So let's say we're doing a deadlift, right? The hips are going to drive behind the heels and you're going to hinge forward or drive forward with the glutes. But when we forward fold, for the sake of creating length throughout the posterior chain, we're keeping the hips in line with the heels. So rather than driving the hips backward, the hips stay in line with the heels. So you can see that massive difference, right? Between here and here. One way that you can tell if you don't have a mirror and you're not able to watch yourself visually is to assess where the weight is being carried in the feet. So when the hips drive back, the toes really easily lift. Most of the weight is in the heels. You may not even really feel much weight anywhere else in the foot. But when the hips are in line with the heels, there's an equal distribution of weight from toes to heels, and the toes are actively involved in gripping. So it's not easy to pick the ball of the foot up off the ground. So if you were to see the difference between here, I can really easily pick the ball of the foot up off the ground. When I'm here, can't without pushing myself backwards or creating an imbalance. So those are the cues to look for. One other common, I don't want to say mistake, but one common misalignment as well is to lock out the knees in a hyperextension when we do a wide-legged forward fold. So I don't know if you remember, honestly don't remember even which session I mentioned this. I think it was week 1 of this session, but if you are sitting down and you have a straight leg, but your heel is lifted off the ground as mine is right now, you're actually in a hyperextension. So a neutral position of the leg within a forward fold, if there is some natural curvature in the leg, that there's space between the back of the knee and the ground, then that's what you want to mimic when you are standing as well. And then we'll avoid any overextension behind the knee. So a gentle bend in the knee is helpful when you first go into a wide-legged forward fold, because the tendency is to, again, sort of go into that lockout to create stability within the leg. So if you begin with a gentle bend and then go into your hinge, you'll set yourself up better. And then if you feel like you want to make any adjustments to the degree of straightness, so to speak, then you can do it once you're in the position. Okay, so those are the important cues. So we'll begin in a wide-legged stance.